cloud is a hot item these days. Everyone seems to be migrating their applications to cloud-based resources. A lot of organizations are considering saving money by migrating their former installed apps to the cloud. But one thing that people need to be concerned about is security, and a lot of people are concerned about security for a lot of good reasons. Just this year, there's been some pretty high-profile breaches of security at cloud resources and cloud vendors of storage, and that's got a lot of people concerned. But one thing that people have to remember is that security breaches happen all the time, whether or not your data is in the cloud or whether it's stored on site at your own location. In fact, there's probably more break-ins and data loss when data is stored on site at your place than anywhere else. There's been several high-profile security breaches this year in the cloud, and I think that's got a lot of people a little bit spooked about the security that's available for cloud-based resources. But what people have to keep in mind is that there's security breaches all the time. They happen constantly, and they happen whether the data is stored in the cloud or whether it's stored in site at your own location. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence that cloud-based storage and cloud-based resources in general can be more secure. One of the reasons for this is geographic diversity. For example, if you're storing your data, say, with Amazon, versus in your server room. If it's in your server room, it's there. It's on one box, and that's it. If it's with Amazon, it's probably replicated around different sites around the country. If there's an earthquake in the California site, you're probably protected. Even if those are servers where your data live, it will probably get replicated over to another site, say in New York or Chicago or somewhere else in the country that's safer. So that's not as much of a concern as it would be if the data was in-house. Also, resiliency can be built into cloud-based resources. Say, for example, you have a server in your server closet in your organization and your server goes down. Well, if that's the only server you have and there's no redundancy, then that's it. Cloud-based resources tend to be more resilient, and it's resiliency at a pretty granular level so that if a hard drive dies, that doesn't necessarily take down the cloud storage. And in fact, it rarely does. Even if a whole server dies or parts of a server farm go down, cloud-based resources can easily get around the problems like this and keep things up and running without you even knowing there's a problem. In fact, if you use things like Gmail, there's probably problems every day. There's probably drives that die, servers that go down every single day, but they build for this, and you never even know what's happening. And that you can't really get that kind of security in-house. But there are some things you want to watch out for with the cloud. And basically it comes down to just knowing what you're protecting. How valuable is your data? If it does get stolen, what are the consequences of it, and how much are you willing to pay to protect it? There are certain questions you can ask a cloud-based vendor of storage or applications. One of those things is, are they HIPAA compliant? If your organization has a need to be HIPAA compliant, then you definitely want to make sure that where you're storing your data can fulfill those needs for you. And another thing you want to be concerned about is whether or not you can encrypt your data. If security is really a concern, if confidentiality is high in your list of concerns for your organization, then you want to make sure that the data that's stored elsewhere outside your organization can be encrypted so that only you can access it. Not all vendors do that, but many do, and it's important to check to make sure that the vendor you choose does, if that's something that's of concern to you. So, in short, I wouldn't avoid the cloud. I just say to make sure you ask the right questions and really take the time to understand how the infrastructure works and how it can be more secure than what you already have.